Join me as I dive into the showdown between Pyrrhus and Rome and see if I can figure out who really reigns supreme. In this video, you will explore the epic confrontation between Pyrrhus, the warrior king, and the might of Rome, setting the stage for a clash that would resonate through history. Pyrrhus, the king of Epirus, had ambition burning in his veins. He sought to expand his kingdom, to leave a lasting legacy, and to be remembered as one of the greatest rulers of all time. But standing in his way was the powerful Roman Republic, a state that would stop at nothing to protect its interests and expand its territory. The stakes were high, and the clash between these two titans of the ancient world would have far-reaching consequences. As Pyrrhus set his sights on Italy, he knew that he was taking a huge risk. The Romans were a formidable foe with a well-trained army and a strong economy. But Pyrrhus was undeterred, driven by his desire for glory and his confidence in his own military prowess. He assembled a massive army, complete with infantry, cavalry, and war elephants, and set off to conquer the Italian peninsula. Despite the odds, Pyrrhus was convinced that he could defeat the Romans and add their territory to his own kingdom. He was a skilled military strategist with a deep understanding of the art of war. He had studied the tactics of Alexander the Great, and he was determined to follow in his footsteps. Dive into the details of Pyrrhus's military strategies, and you'll quickly realize that he was a master of the battlefield. He was a bold and innovative commander, always looking for ways to outmaneuver his opponents and gain the upper hand. He was a master of surprise, using ambushes and clever tactics to catch his enemies off guard. And he was a skilled diplomat, able to forge alliances and win the loyalty of his troops. But Pyrrhus's greatest innovation was his use of war elephants. These massive beasts were a game changer on the battlefield, capable of charging into the fray and scattering the enemy lines. They were also incredibly intimidating, striking fear into the hearts of Pyrrhus's opponents. And yet, despite their effectiveness, the elephants would ultimately prove to be a double-edged sword. They were expensive to maintain, and their losses would weigh heavily on Pyrrhus's conscience. One of the most famous battles fought by Pyrrhus was the Battle of Heraclea, a brutal and bloody conflict that would prove to be a turning point in the war. Pyrrhus had marched his army into southern Italy, determined to drive the Romans out of the region. The Romans, led by the consul Laevinus, were waiting for him, their army dug in and ready to fight. The battle was intense and chaotic, with both sides suffering heavy losses. But in the end, it was Pyrrhus who emerged victorious, his elephants and cavalry proving to be too much for the Roman infantry. The Battle of Heraclea was a triumph for Pyrrhus, but it came at a terrible cost. He had lost many of his best soldiers, and his casualties were mounting. He knew that he couldn't keep fighting like this, not if he wanted to emerge victorious in the end. He needed a new strategy, one that would allow him to defeat the Romans without sacrificing his own troops. But as he pondered his next move, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was fighting a losing battle. Present the pivotal Battle of Heraclea as the turning point for Pyrrhus, where his tactics and the use of elephants made a significant impact. The outcome of the battle was far from certain, with both sides trading blows and suffering heavy losses. But in the end, it was Pyrrhus who emerged victorious, his elephants and cavalry proving to be too much for the Roman infantry. As the war dragged on, Pyrrhus began to realize that his dream of conquering Rome was slipping through his fingers. He had won battle after battle, but at what cost? His army was dwindling, his treasury was empty, and his people were growing restless. He knew that he had to make a choice. Either press on and risk everything, or retreat and salvage what he could. In the end, he chose the latter, withdrawing his army from Italy and leaving the Romans to pick up the pieces. In the end, the conflict between Pyrrhus and Rome was a stalemate. Pyrrhus had won many battles, but he had lost the war. He had failed to conquer Rome, and his kingdom was weaker as a result. The Romans, on the other hand, had emerged victorious, their power and influence stronger than ever. But as we look back on this epic conflict, we're left to wonder, who really reigned supreme? So, who do you think would have reigned supreme? Pyrrhus, the warrior king, or the mighty Roman Republic? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to learn more about ancient warfare, be sure to check out my other videos on the subject. Thanks for watching.